As the lady just said, meeting's being recorded, so hopefully that's okay.
You pass me your card. Okay, $100. That's from taxes. Pepper. It's like no.
James, Rachel's having a problem connecting well. See if we get her this time.
Jennifer, you all set?
Oh, yeah.
Jaki McKinnon should be joining us after 8, Steve.
Okay, sounds good.
I was curious, the normal Rotary meetings, you guys have breakfast in the morning, you do your speeches, so I wondered if everybody's sitting here in the morning eating breakfast as we have a meeting.
Well, sometimes, not everyone, but you know, some people do eat. There's an awful lot of coffee.
Nice.
It's not good coffee. Has the coffee improved?
Well, Jennifer, we switched over to the BOAA and the coffee was better, but there's
Okay.
some thought that we might go back to Trinity after this, which will, we'll see what the pandemic has done to the coffee at Trinity United Church.
Too bad.
At least we know where the priorities are.
That's right. That's right.
I like good coffee.
All right.
The first one in the morning is always important.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if you're only going to have one a day, it has to be good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Has anyone noticed that we're getting a Starbucks where the
Yes.
old Baker's Dozen donut shop used to be?
Another
Come around the
one.
world.
Oh, boy, is that right?
Yeah.
I tell you, my daughter's pretty pumped about it.
Oh, so am I.
Yeah.
Nice.
2 Starbucks in a tiny little Bowmanville.
Yeah. The other one's hard to get to, right?
Yes.
Different vibe.
Geez, though.
Different vibe.
No, the downtown one will be more, relaxed, piece of the city, that kind of thing. The other one,
I can walk there, which is
commuter
more
thing.
important.
See, there you go. That's right. As can Lyle. Lyle could.
I can throw a baseball to it.
Exactly.
We could walk there on our way to Rotary.
Yep.
Where are you, Jennifer?
I'm just off Liberty Street, where St. Joe's Church is.
Oh, okay.
I live in behind in that little crescent area.
Sounds like we got a couple of volunteers to pick up the coffee for our in-person meetings.
You got it. You got it. All right. Well, 7:33. We may as well get things rolling here. Welcome everyone to what is my third last meeting as president. So I'm pretty excited to be perfectly honest with you. We have a few guests here today. First off, we have Peter and Andrew, our soon to be inducted Rotarians. Welcome, Peter and Andrew. We are good. I'm assuming we're all good. Let's see, who else do we have? We have Carol Vandersanden and Michelle Perry, our guest speakers. Carol and Michelle, there'll be a more fulsome introduction of you shortly. Let me just let this one person in. And we also have Doriana. Doriana is one of our new summer squad members that got onboarded yesterday. So welcome, Doriana.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Happy to be.
As you and the rest of the crew get working, know that you've got 50 some odd of us that are here willing to help. Okay, you put out the call. There's a good chance that we'll be able to help you solve things. Okay.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
And Doriana, maybe once we get rolling, I might ask you just to do a quick introduction to yourself, just a few seconds, okay? All right, and with that, let's move on to our toasts. First to Her Majesty, to the Queen,
The Queen.
To Canada.
to Canada,
Canada.
and to Rotary International.
Rotary International.
Very national.
We'll flow from that to a land acknowledgement. We'd like to acknowledge that here in Bowmanville, we're on the territory covered by the Williams Treaty, and that this land is the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation. We are thankful for the opportunity to live and learn on the lands of the peoples of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation. And over to you, John, for the invocation.
As we gather here today as members of Rotary, we pray that we are ever mindful of opportunities to render our service to fellow citizens and to our community, keeping in mind always the enduring values of life, exerting our efforts in those areas and on those things upon which future generations can build with confidence. Let us continue to strive to make a better world.
Excellent, John. Thank you very much. Before I move on, just wanted to say a word or two, because I know that the land acknowledgement kind of showed up what seemed like all of a sudden. It wasn't a unilateral decision. I did put out the question to the board just to give it a try and see how it fit our club. And so we're doing that. We're giving it a try right now. But something that was decided in the board meeting last week was that once we can meet in person again, we're going to have a club assembly, and one of the topics is going to be, how do we want to open our club? What should it include? From the invocation to the toasts, this to whatever, and see what the club thinks. Maybe it's time for a refresher. We'll see. Okay, so just wanted to let you know that things aren't happening in a vacuum. Okay, Pauline, do we have any birthdays and anniversaries? I know we've got one at least. So
Yes, June's a month to celebrate, and Jennifer is having a birthday tomorrow. So happy birthday, Jennifer.
Thank you.
And Steve Burnett, if we were having an in-person meeting today, Ross Metcalf would be jumping up to the piano singing happy birthday, and we would all be joining in. So happy birthday today, Steve Burnett.
Thank you.
For anniversaries, yeah, June's a popular month for getting married, and Roy and Daphne are celebrating a wedding anniversary today. So happy anniversary, Roy. Renee and Andre are celebrating, they've been married since bows and arrows were secret weapons. A long time. So they've got a wedding anniversary this week. So does Camille and Gary and Don and Sherry. So happy anniversary to these Rotarians. And what else are we celebrating? Yes, service above self. Ron Collis, 7 years of serving our club. So thank you, Ron.
excellent, and Ron's on the call today, so that's great. Well, I suppose it is June. There's an awful lot of wedding anniversaries, so
Yeah,
that makes sense. Doriana, why don't you jump in and tell us a little bit about yourself and why you wanted to be a member of the Summer Squad? No pressure.
No worries. Hi, everyone. Good morning. As I stated before, my name is Doriana, and I'm super excited to get started. I actually got up so early this morning, so I'm super excited to jump on this call. I'm a little bit of an early morning bird. So a little bit about myself. I am a dance teacher, so I love teaching dance and working with kids a lot. I volunteer for the Boys and Girls Club Youth Justice Committee, so get to hear the youth side. I love helping in my community. I just finished my undergrad degree in forensic psychology at Ontario Tech, which is super exciting. A little bit about myself and my goals. I hope to give back to the community and give people a more holistic approach. So that's my major goal. Open a facility where I can combine mind, body, and soul and have a universal access to help people live a happier and healthier life. So the reason why I applied for this job is because I love the outlook and the fact that we got to be in the community. I didn't get to do a lot of that last year due to COVID. So as soon as this opportunity kind of hit, I was like, let's jump on this. This is a great thing to have. And I get to meet incredible people. And so that is definitely a highlight. And yeah, I think you're going to meet the rest of the team in the following weeks, so I will let them introduce them, but they are incredible young women as well, and I'm super excited for this summer.
Well, thank you, Doriana. I love your energy. I'm really excited to see what the squad brings forward this year. Really great. Okay, Gail, I believe that you're going to do the honor of introducing our speakers, right?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I'd like to introduce to you Carol Vandersanden and Michelle. They're with an organization called We Grow Food. They started this organization in 2013, and it's grown to having 6 community gardens and 35 private gardens. They run a mobile greenhouse that goes between schools, and they have a number of other exciting programs that they're both going to tell you about. Carol is a chef, as a business grad, and Michelle is a child and youth worker, or started her career as that. But I think they're much more than that now, and they're going to tell you. Carol, which I thought was hilarious, grew 2,500 pounds of food on her front lawn. I can't even grow a rose. How do you grow food on your front lawn? So I'm excited that they're going to tell you about a program, and I'm particularly excited that they've partnered with Feed the Need Durham on a project called Nourishing the Community, and they're going to tell you all about that, I'm sure, as well. So over to you, Carol and Michelle.
Thank you so much. What's left to be said?
Nothing. Okay, we're off.
You know, I can't believe that we're already going into our 8th year of growing. And so many times people ask us, you know, how did We Grow Food begin? And really it began with a group of friends sitting in the Table restaurant. All of us grew our own food in our yards, and we were baffled really about the whole food scarcity and food shortages that so many people were experiencing. And we all looked at each other because we love to grow food, and we said, why not teach everybody to grow food, and we can eliminate this problem? And it sounded so simple. When you do the math, it was just simple. So we started in the downtown core. There were 8 of us, and we went door knocking, and we simply asked people if they would be interested in having a garden where they could grow food. It would cost them nothing. We would raise the funds to do it, and we would install and plant a garden for them that they could take care of. It went so well, you know. Downtown Oshawa, we did 24 gardens that year, private gardens. The interesting thing is that one of the people that we solicited for a garden wasn't home, but she got the flyer, and she phoned us the following day, and she said, Carol, you were talking about a garden. There's a piece of land that the city owns right behind us. Could you build a garden there? And I said, Sandra, I said, let me check. I said, I don't know anything about that property, but you know, it's late on a Friday afternoon, but I'll get a hold of somebody at the city. So I did. I called a couple of my contacts there, and they said, oh, Carol, you know, it's late on a Friday afternoon for us to really do anything, but let me get back to you. No word of a lie, by mid-morning on Monday, I got a call that they had called an emergency council meeting or a committee meeting, sorry. And they said, yes, you can have the land. It was so fast. And then within a couple of weeks, we were building with 75 people. We built this first garden. I look at it now and it's thriving in that neighborhood. It's a simple garden. It started out as a simple garden, but it's thriving. That neighborhood is thriving and working together. That garden became immediately independent. So even though it's under the We Grow Food umbrella, they take care of everything themselves, and we support them with contract insurance and things like that. So that's how We Grow Food started. When we saw how well the first garden was going, the city got a hold of us and said, if we give you a listing of our holdings, will you do more gardens? Well, we're a small organization. We said, well, we'll start another garden. And it sort of happened that we started a garden one a year. And so right now we're farming almost 2 acres of land in the city of Oshawa, which is so amazing. Our hope was that every neighborhood would end up with a garden, and we work towards that. And although We Grow Food is not a huge organization, I think that we're small, but we're mighty, and we impact so many people. And yesterday, Michelle and I were talking, and people are like, oh, COVID must have been really hard. Well, there were definite stresses for everybody because of COVID, but there were so many blessings. And that looks delicious. Are those the corn fritters we made for the harvest feast? Did you send that picture?
I don't remember.
I don't remember that one. In any event, it looks delicious. So with COVID, what ended up happening was that the gardens were going to be closed. They had put us under recreational, and so they were going to close the gardens. So myself and like We Grow Food, our team, and DIG, Durham Integrated Growers, and Sustain Ontario, and a whole group fought and lobbied to say, wait a minute, our gardens grow food. They are an essential service. So a month later, it took a bit, but a month later, just in the nick of time for first planting, we were told that we would be an essential service and that our gardens could open. Well, that cracked things wide open. People had been in lockdown for so long, they were itching to get out. They were itching to just get some fresh air, to participate, to be with other people. And so now our volunteer base it exploded, you know, and we had over 125 volunteers register to come out and help in these gardens. That means that we were able to not only run the gardens, but they were going to run in such an abundant way. We were able to do so much growing and so much succession planting. We grew so much food that we were able to feed at least 500 people a week. That's a lot of people coming to us to get fresh produce. And the reach, that was interesting, because We Grow Food is in Oshawa, but our reach went from Pickering, a couple of Scarborough, all the way to the other side of Newcastle and upwards of Seagrave. We've had Uxbridge. So people were coming to get fresh produce every Tuesday on our Harvest Tuesday. We also had 5 agencies, which was CAM H, a couple of seniors buildings, Geared to Income, a church. All these people who had now had this huge influx of people who were now unemployed because of COVID, who needed fresh produce. So this was no longer a situation that it was for low income or, you know, people who use the food banks. This was for a huge, widespread demographic of people who were struggling. And so we met, because they picked their food up in person, we met the most amazing people, and we got to hear the most amazing stories. And I have to say, It was our best year ever.
It was.
And it was so good that we decided that this would be the template of how We Grow Food would move forward. That we would have these volunteers who are looking for community, helping or being a part of community. And many who come also to get fresh produce, but didn't want to take something for free. They wanted to be able to give back. So there was this, everything was happening in a full circle.
Mm-hmm.
It was incredibly rewarding. We went home tired and filled every single solitary day.
And we still do, we
Yeah.
still do that. And, even though we're going into our second year technically of COVID, we're excited where we've got the template down, how we're going to manage things when it comes to sanitizing and doing all those things. So we're excited again for this year. So I just want to touch on a few things. So a first photo that you saw was Alexander's Bounty, which is just north of the hospital. That garden there, we actually have recently just partnered up with the Oshawa Durham Region Métis Council. And we had lots of conversations about it because we wanted to find a community group to partner with to help out and take on Alexander's Bounty so they can grow with that. So right now, Alexander's Bounty is actually we're still overseeing them. We're there to help them and support them. We have the insurance with the city, and we have the contact with the foundation office of the hospital. But they are now successfully running the garden with our support. So that's an exciting part. As Gail mentioned, it was interesting, the night prior to me calling Ben from Feed the Need and saying, you know what, we want to partner up with Feed the Need and have some of our fresh produce be a part of their fresh produce that they're already giving out. And it was interesting that they actually had a conversation with regards to starting a pilot project, which is called Nourishing the Community. So the timing was fantastic. So we are actually now partnering up with Feed the Need for this year, that some of our fresh produce as a whole is going into these boxes of fresh produce that's being provided for the community. So that's fantastic. Which is great. It's something we wanted to do, and it's great that we're able to support other people, other agencies, even more than what we already have been doing.
And there was something about, and I know that Feed the Need already does fresh produce, the best that can be done, of course. But now we're talking hyper local food, growing in your community, and then going straight out to the people that need it the most. And there's just something absolutely delicious about that, because everybody knows that when you pick a zucchini or a head of lettuce from the garden, that's going to last 2 weeks in your fridge without going bad. That's amazing. And
yeah, that is. And I just want to also touch back. So when we did the Harvest Tuesdays, we also went on Monday. CMHA Durham had picked up on Mondays from us, so they were able to hand out to their clients. We also had St. Gertrude's. They came and they picked up on Tuesdays for their church. We also had Sunrise Seniors, Sunrise Corporate Co-op,
yeah,
and then 155 King Street. I think a few photos got put in there. That's Carol's lunch the other day. So I apologize for the few extra. There's the mobile greenhouse classroom. So I'll touch on that since the photo was up. So the mobile greenhouse classroom, we'd actually purchased a 31-foot trailer. And in the area in the middle there, we've actually took out the table and seating area and put in shelves, actually beans, Carol's brother, beans, or Eugene Vandersanden, and actually, there we go. So that was his handiwork of removing, and Chrissy, taking out that stuff there. And actually there's grow lights in there at the top. It's hard to see. There you go. That was done. So
we could grow, the idea was that we would grow all different types of food inside and have them growing at different stages, so that when we go to the schools to teach, that the students would have modules, educational modules outside of the mobile greenhouse classroom, but inside would be the education portion of how plants grow. And we had 8 different modules that we offered to schools. We were partnered or are partnered with the Durham District School Board and the Durham Catholic District School Board to go to schools. We had an awful lot of schools booked before COVID hit, and then everything came to a grinding halt. But it is very, very popular.
And so we shifted. So not only didn't stop just because COVID happened, we stopped taking the mobile greenhouse classroom mode, but we did things more virtual now. So it's like, okay, so if we can't teach with this, what can we do to help schools? What can we do to help teachers and kids and families? So we ended up doing virtual teaching, even with COVID happening and the kids weren't there. At St. Albert's, we did a build. We actually built them 3 raised beds, and we did 3 sessions or 3 different classes of how to do certain things. So they got to plant tomato plants, they got to do wicking pots, they got to see how seeds grew. So that was fantastic. So even though COVID again happened, we still wanted to make sure that that information still got out there. So that was fantastic. Also, we've done builds at the Harborfront, Lakeview, Beatrice Woods for the 3rd year.
And those are both social housing neighborhoods. And I think we can both agree that we've had some of the most amazing experiences in these neighborhoods, working with the families and their excitement in having these gardens and their pride.
Yeah.
In having these gardens, and Beatrice Woods, where their gardens flourished, and we expanded them this year, and Harborview Lakeview that got the new gardens this year. Yeah. We also handed out 60 of the large 70-liter totes with soil, plants, and seeds, so that people could also have one in their backyard. And they were not just thrilled and filled with gratitude, but what we noticed was how they were all helping each other. Anybody who had any kind of a disability that they were not able to lift or to pull or do whatever, there was somebody immediately, without even asking. It was so self-organized, and they just came and they said, "Oh, we've got your tote, we're going to take it to your place, we're going to help you plant it." It was lovely.
It was lovely. It is lovely because people still come and pick up. In one of the photos, you saw the brown one, and that one actually we started last year, and people from Clarington and
everywhere,
from Pickering, from everywhere, because there was a news article that was done, which was fantastic. And we don't say no to people. If people want to learn, if they want to grow, if they need produce, it doesn't matter. We were like, you know what, we have it, we can give it. And that's the whole thing. If people need advice or they want to build a garden, we're going to help make that happen. We believe in teaching. We believe that it is important to teach the youth, which is going to be passed on. We feel it's important to be in the schools. There's so many things right now that's happening in the schools. They have enough struggles of their own. And knowing that they're going to have a garden to play in, to learn, to grow, and to possibly, there was a lot of talk about what happens in the summer. There are seniors that take over those gardens in the summer to help do it. There are programs, there are families that need that extra produce that take on those gardens and feed their family over the summer. So it's an incredible process. So hence why, Carol originally had started in, that's Caria actually, another one of our community gardens, 115 Grasmere. Carol originally started this organization 8 years ago. I've only been around 4 years, and in those 4 years, she started with private gardens to community gardens, and we've grown. And when we thought, okay, well, the community gardens are not enough, let's do more. So we went to Owasco and bought a 31-foot trailer and retrofitted it. And here we are now. Okay, the totes, and we're continuing to grow because people are always going to want to eat. They're going to want to learn how to cook food. They're going to want to learn how to grow food, and they want to pass that down. So here we are finding ways of doing that. And
so it's bringing growing food, bringing that kitchen garden back. I mean, we're thinking that it's all such a novel, wonderful idea, but we're really bringing back something that historically worked. Mm-hmm. And when we handed out the 250 kitchen garden kits last summer, I took the time to sit down and I called many of the recipients just to say, how is your garden going? How is your planter box going? And the number of people who said, well, how you gave me extra seeds or cucumbers, whatever, I planted them in the back corner of my garden because my little planter pot was full. Do you know how many cucumbers grow on one cucumber plant. She's like, I've got like 30 cucumbers happening. So it was this excitement and this being inspired to take something small that they were given for free and make it into something so much bigger. Yeah. And I'm going to go as far as saying making a lifestyle change, because growing food takes a little bit of time and dedication, and it is a lifestyle choice. And We Grow Food, I believe, is inspiring people to make those changes to healthier, lifestyles.
And ultimately, we want to expand in a way that it's reaching out even farther. And you know what, we're grateful for having the meeting this morning with everyone, and just making sure that everybody in that area is able to be a part of what's happening, because we want to make sure that everybody has access to fresh food. And it's important. It's important to us, and it's important to the people in the community. So thank you for having us.
And we really, really, really appreciate the support that we've received from the Rotary. It is all of those bits and bobs that come to us that make it possible for us to have the tools, to have the seeds, to get the extra soil in the just everything that we need to keep things working and moving. And so we are eternally grateful, as are all the volunteers. So thank you very much. And if you have any questions or comments.
Carol, Michelle, first of all, thank you for telling us about this. It's a truly amazing and enlightening concept that you have. And not only are you growing food, but the whole process itself seems to be growing and in fact blossoming.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are some questions, and certainly it was our pleasure to have been able to donate $800 to the program and to allow you to purchase tools and seed and whatever. So hopefully that can continue in the future. That'll be up to another committee sometime. But questions? I see Joe has his hand up.
Johanna had her hand up first.
Okay, Johanna. I'll turn it over to you, Steve.
Well,
you have a bigger screen.
I think technically Joe did.
No, it's okay. Go.
So ladies, thank you so much for coming out today and presenting. I think you know my sister better than I do, Amanda DeBoer. It's Amanda's sister. Hi.
You got soup from us before too.
I have a lot of them.
See?
The apple curry is my favorite, I will say. So for everybody on the call, they do have a Facebook group as well. So I'll put that in the chat for you all. Okay, just so you know, and then it'll be available there. But thank you so much, ladies. It was a joy and a pleasure to see you again this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well then, thank you, Johanna. Joe.
Yeah, do you ever have any plans to have any grow sites outside of Oshawa?
Okay, so we do want to expand, and we're just finding the right opportunity to be able to do it. Having connections now through the Rotary in Durham and outside of Durham and Bowmanville and Clarington is what we needed. Because everybody knows us out this way a little bit more. So creating those relationships to have those builds happen in your area is what we need. So to me, this is a great way to opening the doors to growing more east. Also, there's been, I don't know if anybody knows, it was been talk last year. We reached out to the Ajax Hospital and said, hey, like we've got a garden at the Oshawa Hospital. We want to do one here. And they're actually in the process of, we've designed and we're kind of tweaking what's happening with the garden. But the Ajax Hospital as well is going to be having a massive garden as well. So we are always looking for opportunities to go out east and build more gardens, whether it's in schools or hospitals or neighborhoods or communities. So we are always happy to build somewhere, always, if it creates more access for people to have fresh food.
Excellent. Do we have any other questions? Looking for hands here. From not
Everybody's signed.
up. Well, you certainly covered things off very well, Michelle and Carol. Inspirational, really. I can't believe how much food and how many people you were providing for. It's really something else. Thank you so much. And yeah, I think if you're looking for a partner in Clarington, you're sitting amongst them right now.
Perfect. We
So
appreciate that.
we would love to help you establish a foothold. I'm speaking for the club. Maybe I shouldn't, but I think it's safe to say we'd help you establish a foothold here. It'd be great.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Well, on behalf of the club, thank you so much for your time this morning. It was lovely to have you. You're more than welcome to stay for the rest of our program, but we know you've got lots of
We're off to the garden.
harvest and all that sort of stuff, right? Get your fingernails dirty. So stay or depart, but we just really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Well, that was lovely. What a story. I can't believe how much food there is. Okay, Happy Bucks. Do we have anyone with Happy Bucks today? Any hands? I see Jen Turner.
So my Happy Buck is yesterday was my little guy's birthday. So it's always sad when your little guy goes into the double digits because you know that you only have a few years left of cuddling. So that's my Happy Buck. My Happy Buck is 10 Happy Bucks for my son turning 10 yesterday.
Excellent. All right. Anyone else? Oh, Doug. Oh, sorry, Don. Don.
Went to a patio for dinner last night. Even in the rain. It was awesome.
Perfect. That's great. Well done. That is cause for happiness. All right, here comes Jaki McKinnon. Next up, well, Jennifer, you're doing a reclassification talk for us. Over to you. And just before we get started, welcome Jaki. Jaki McKinnon from Bethesda House is here, and she'll be speaking to us in a few moments. But first, Jennifer.
Okay, thanks, Steve. So there's a lot of new people in the Rotary Club, so I'll start at the beginning. Some of you might have remembered some of this from when I joined a few years ago, but I originally joined the Rotary Club when I was 16 years old in Belleville. I was chosen as an exchange student to go over to Australia for a year. And that was my first interaction with Rotary and what the Rotary Club was and the service that it provided to communities. So after that, I moved around a lot, went to school in Ottawa, did a honors degree in physical geography and English literature, and then moved over to McGill and did a master's of science in geography. I worked up in the Arctic on climate change and coastal erosion. Spent a lot of time up in the Arctic, living with the Indigenous communities, and started a PhD even focusing on how climate change and coastal erosion would be affecting Indigenous communities and helping them discover using traditional knowledge how they could adapt and mitigate some of those changes. Never ended up finishing the PhD, kind of got disillusioned a little bit and decided that I wanted to join the real world, whatever that means when you're a student and you've been in academia and that's all you know. So moved down to Toronto and joined a small environmental consulting firm, Canadian consulting firm. And I started working on environmental assessments and socioeconomic impact assessments and lots of stuff with waste management. Turns out I love garbage. So that's something that, you don't grow up saying, I want to be a garbage lady, but I became a garbage lady. I became fascinated with how people manage the waste streams from things that they throw away in their houses and where they end up, and ended up working for the Ministry of the Environment in their waste approvals branch. And then after that, consulting again. And then I was headhunted by Covanta, and they are the operators of the Durham York Energy Center. So for those of you who may or may not know, the Durham York Energy Center is the place our garbage goes, post-recycled waste. So anything that's not recyclable, not organic, because we also have organics recycling programs in Durham region. But everything after all of those programs goes to the Durham York Energy Center, where it's put through a thermal process and they produce energy. So I was hired by that company. I was the business manager and I worked there for 3 years. And that's when I joined the Bowmanville Rotary Club for the first time, in order to familiarize myself with the community and to get Covanta participating in the community and explaining what it is that we do in a thoughtful way. That was the role that I had, and that's when I first joined. 3 years later, I left that role with Covanta, and life had taken a few interesting turns for me. So I ended up leaving the club.
Thank you.
Just so that I could focus on my family. I have a wonderful husband and 2 young boys, well, youngish now, 10 and 11. So I took a few years and refocused on my family and figured out what directionality we were going in. And then about 2.5 years ago, I joined the Canadian Nuclear Laboratories, their Port Hope area initiative. So that project in brief is a cleanup of contaminated soil that was left in the community during essentially World War II, where they were processing radium. And they have some waste materials, waste soils that were left all over the community. So the project there is the largest community requested cleanup remediation in Canadian history. It's got a value of about $1.8 billion. And I'm leading the environmental services team on that project. So what we do is we help all the other project teams with their environmental permitting at the federal and provincial levels to make sure that they're remaining in compliance with the environmental assessment that was done for that project. And interesting note, how did I get hired there? Well, in my interview, they were like, can you save the trees? And the answer was, not if you're going to dig out all the dirt, right? Like you can't have trees not growing in dirt. So within the first 6 months, like my really focus was to learn about the project and to figure out how to save the trees while doing the cleanup, because there's all these legal agreements and the environmental assessment and the expectations of the community, which are really important. So long story short, we're now involved in the 2nd year of the Save the Trees initiative. So not only will this save the trees and improve the environment in Port Hope, it will continue to remove the low-level radioactive waste, this contaminated soil that's scattered about the community. But it has the side benefit of saving the Canadian taxpayer about $500 million. So that's the project that I'm working on now. It's the big project, and that's the company. And gosh, something that you shouldn't know about me or you wouldn't know about me, I am the first Jewish person to be in the Rotary Club, even though Joe's there now. And so I guess I'm now the second, but I was originally the first.
I love it.
There's Ron too.
Yeah, did you beat Ron Collis into the club?
Oh, you know what? I don't think I did. So Ron's the first.
Uh-oh.
I'm the second.
Okay.
Ron was ahead of me by a couple years, I think.
We should
And
form a subcommittee.
we should form a subcommittee. But I'll leave that for another talk, because how I became, I'm Jewish, but how I became Jewish, it's such a great story.
Wow, that's like a Hammy Hamster episode, but that's another story. Fantastic. Jennifer, that was lovely. I'll admit that when you said that you love garbage, Oscar the Grouch's song "I Love Trash" started rolling through my head, and I very nearly interrupted you with the YouTube video because I looked it up. Great. Well, thank you very much, Jennifer. Welcome back to the club. We're thrilled to have you back. Cheers.
One funny story. I used to do a lot of presentations about waste management in schools and environmentalism. And I did one for my son's kindergarten class one year. That was a lot of fun. And later on in the school year, I had gone to school to pick up my son from daycare. And one of his classmates walked by with her parents, who didn't know who I was, obviously, and said, "It's the garbage lady." And she was so excited. And her father was devastated. He was so embarrassed because he didn't know why she called me that. And I just started laughing, and I looked at it and I said, "Don't worry about it. I get it all the time."
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you, Jennifer. Okay, moving on. We have Jaki McKinnon from Bethesda House. I think very nearly everyone here is familiar with the important work that Bethesda House does. We had the pleasure back last spring, so a year ago, to help with a little bit of maintenance around Bethesda House. It was a heartwarming sort of project. Several of us came out. Jaki is here to talk to us today for a community report. Jaki, over to you.
Yes, thank you for inviting me and giving me just a couple of minutes to update you on what's going on. I do want to say that you've done more than a couple of things for us over the years. You have renovated the shelter in many ways in terms of roofs and windows and fridges and whatever. So you are definitely considered, a top supporter. Thank you for that. Can I share my screen for a minute just to put up a, okay, so let me just see what I want to do here. Are you able to see that? Can anybody see the poster?
Got it. Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so what I am here just to give you a little bit of an intro to is the Walk Your Way that's coming up this weekend. It's on Saturday. There's lots of details about it on our website. And I just want to let you know that it's still not too late if you have the opportunity to go out for a short walk on Saturday. Then you can join our Walk Your Way virtually. We had to pivot. We missed out last year on our Walk a Mile in Her Shoes after doing the walk for 12 years. Having to turn it virtual, we just couldn't manage getting the red shoes out to everybody. So what we did is we've decided that you can walk your way this year. And you can walk whenever you want during the day, wherever you want during the day, whatever shoes you want, and just take a picture or two of it, and then join us at 4 o'clock for an after walk party. And people who registered early got a walk kit with a mask, and they got bandanas for the dogs and whoever else is going to walk with them. And but you don't have to walk yourself. You can also join the supporters, the sponsoring walkers, by just going to Canada Helps and clicking on the Walk Your Way section of Bethesda House, and you can contribute toward the walkers who do walk by making a donation. So you can either walk or donate and sponsor a walker, or just pass the word along in your social media that this is coming up on Saturday. The other part that we are highlighting this year is we want to make sure that more people understand that we're a pet-friendly shelter, and that by supporting our shelter, you're also preventing animals who might be left behind from being abused and being a tool used by the abuser to manipulate the woman and his family. And not a lot of people understand the human-animal violence link, and we're trying to focus on that this year as well. So I've talked really fast. Is there any questions? No?
Well, I can't see everyone's hands. If you got a question, speak up. Jaki, as Rachel's pointed out in the chat, we have promoted this on the Rotary Facebook page. But encourage everyone to share that to their own page to draw folks out. As an organizer of the Terry Fox Run, a virtual event is a much stranger thing to have to organize, so it needs all the help it can get.
Yes.
Jaki, I have a question for you. We've heard a lot about the pandemic and its effect on mental health. What effect has it had on the work that you're doing over there as we start to emerge from it? What's it been like for the last 15 months?
It's been incredibly crazy and really depressing in a lot of ways, in that a lot of women to begin with simply hunkered down where they were, regardless of whether or not it was a safe situation. And there were very few requests for service. And that has just started to, over the last few months, began to rise again, not back to normal. But we know that a lot of people are sitting at home in very dangerous situations. And we know that because our crisis line call went up, but people are afraid to leave and to move and to come out. One issue is they're afraid of catching COVID if they come into a shelter. They hear about, homeless shelters, and they don't realize that we've gone over and above all Ontario public health requirements to prevent any spread of the disease in the shelter. We hired extra cleaning support. We've reduced our capacity to 1/3 so that there's physical distancing. I mean, we have so much focus on the pandemic and preventing it from harming our staff and our women and our kids that it actually has caused us to do the actual violence against women work in a whole different way. Everybody has iPads and you can't congregate together as a group. And we've been actually doing online group work with women in shelter because we can't get together as groups. Or we can get together with a group of like 2 women because in a large room you can, distance. But so it's really changed everything. And we are just so eager to get back to doing face-to-face with as many women as we possibly can. And we're trying to get it out there that it is safe and that if you need to come, call us. So we're doing the best we can, and we are going to get back to normal as soon as we can. And the women who have come have experienced more severe issues than ever in the past because they stayed at home longer, thinking they had to hunker down in their own homes in the community rather than be out and about. And so some of the things that they've gone through has been absolutely horrendous. And we just want to end that. We want women to start coming back to us at the same rates or more than they used to, so that we can prevent those more serious injuries and abuses. Yeah.
Jackie?
Thank you.
Thank you. It never occurred to me that that women wouldn't be coming out during COVID. In fact, I thought you might be more full in managing that problem.
Mm.
So there you go. Any other questions for Jackie? Well, Jackie, thank you so much for coming out and reminding us of your event, and not to mention the good work that you and your organization do.
Thank you.
It's critical to our community. Thank you.
And thank you for your good work. Okay.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Okay, moving on. We have a few announcements. First off, everyone should have seen my email from last week, I guess. The municipality is handing out Canada Day fun kits, I guess they are, over the course of 3 days. We've got several volunteers, including our new summer squad. If you're interested and available to help out during one of the shifts, send me an email. I've already sent our first batch of volunteers off to the municipality. And I think they could always use more. All the dates and locations and times are in that email. Next, we have the district conference coming up on Saturday, June the 26th from 9 until noon, 9 in the morning until noon. It promises to be an interesting event. We've got 11 or 12 of us signed up right now. It's almost free to join. They ask for a $10 donation to the Rotary Foundation that happens as you register. I'll make sure to put that link at the top of everyone's email again, because I think it'll be valuable for you to join. And afterwards, at 1, I'd like as many of us as possible to meet down at West Beach in Bowmanville. I'd like to do a small version of our planned watershed cleanup, and we'll spend an hour or so doing that, and maybe then, providing we can get space on the patio, go over to Chronicle Brewery for a beer, and they've always got some food there as well. So keep that in mind. June 26th, 1 o'clock, after the district conference. Some of you may have seen on social media that Ajax Rotary made a bit of a gutsy move and planned and hoped that they would get approval once things opened up for a drive-through rib fest, and they planned for this coming weekend. And as soon as things opened up, they submitted to Durham Region and got approval. That's caused us to kick ourselves into gear. Chris Velasco has already submitted a first draft of our safety plan for a drive-through event, and I believe that Chris and Phil and several others are going to be talking and looking for dates in the coming weeks, months, whatever works with the ribbers and with us and the municipality to make that event happen. Not the same as our regular Rib Fest, but it's something, and we can kind of get our name back out there. So important that way. And I think those are all the announcements that I had. Does anyone else have anything from the floor they'd like to put out there? Okay. Oh, Fred Mandrick, go ahead.
Steve, I was just notified by University of Technology there by Jody Cowan that there's a speaker talking about leaving behind your legacy or donations and all kinds of stuff about a family trust. And I put that all in I'll put that all in the newsletter, and people might want to just click in on that. It's June 22nd with the details to follow. Okay, I thought it was a great invite.
Excellent. Thank you, Fred. Okay. And with that, well, Jennifer Turner, you again, with the quote of the week.
It's a busy day today.
It is.
So it's a quote based on a speaker that we had a few weeks ago, the woman who was attacked while walking on Anderson Street in Whitby, and it really stuck with me for a little bit. So this quote is inspired by her story. Life is so short. We spend so much time sweating the small stuff, worrying and complaining, gossiping, comparing and wishing, wanting and waiting for something bigger and better, instead of focusing on all the simple blessings that surround us every day. Life is so fragile, and all it takes is a single moment to change everything you take for granted. Focus on what is important and be grateful. You are blessed. You have to believe it. Live your life and leave no regrets.
Wonderful.
Jennifer, that was fantastic. Thank you very much. Well, with that, remember, if there's nothing else for the good of Rotary, goodness, I don't have my cheat sheet in front of me, but here we go. Remember, in the things that we say and we do, is it the truth? Is it beneficial to all? Is it beneficial to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And the fourth thing that I got out of order, and I've forgotten, but it's all good. And maybe next week I'll finally have it all memorized at the last meeting that I convened. All right.
I think we need to put it on a T-shirt for you.
I think you do, or like on the inside of my glasses, maybe. All right. All right, everyone have a lovely day today. Thank you so much for joining.
Have a good week, everyone.
Cheers.
Have a good week, everyone.
Wonderful to see everybody.